Right, let's talk real estate now. Delighted to be joined live on the line from London by the Chief Executive Officer of Binghatti Holding, one of Dubai's largest developers, Katrinalda Binghatti. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Richard.
So you're in London. We know that because we saw the pictures yesterday on social media, you and many members of the board at the London Stock Exchange for the ceremonial bell ringing as your $500 million Islamic bond or Sukuk listed in London. Tell us about that. What have you done and why have you done it?
So this is part of our capital markets journey. One of the things that we always say is Binghatti is not just a real estate developer. We are all things real estate. So whether that is, building and delivering properties or also having some sort of impact in capital markets, and debt capital markets is one of the markets that we like to play in as well. And I think, last year was our debut in 2024 in debt capital markets. And I'm proud to say that this year, Binghatti is probably one of the strongest private sector names in the Sukuk market and in debt capital markets. So the most recent issuance that we did was the $500 million, which is part of a $1.5 billion Sukuk program that we set up early on this year. So it's, like I said, it's part of our capital markets journey that we've embarked on, and we've had tremendous success.
You're paying just over 8%, I'm reading, in terms of a coupon, which was lower than was initially thought. And reading some market watchers saying, because demand was very strong for this, 5 times oversubscribed, you were able to get a slightly lower coupon rate, which is good. Talk to me about that, the demand for this and those interactions with shareholders, because it's not something you've really had to do before, is it, as a private company?
So we did tighten around 25 basis points from the initial pricing thoughts, landed around, as you said, 8.125. I think it was a good surprise because, of course, we came on later in the year, last week of July. But I think what this demand reflects, the tightening on the price, it reflects a lot of confidence in not only the Binghatti name, but actually the Dubai as a market and the real estate sector in Dubai as well. The interesting thing actually is the amount of international demand that we saw. So we placed almost half of the book's allocation, so close to 50% of allocations went to international investors, which, like I said, just shows the not only regional but global confidence in Dubai as a real estate market and the Binghatti name as well.
You got an upgrade on your rating just a few months ago from Fitch Ratings, one of the agencies that rates you as a Islamic bond, a Sukuk issuer, which is great, a B+ rating. But you'll be aware that Fitch made headlines around the world, certainly here in Dubai just a few weeks ago, with their general commentary on the Dubai real estate market, saying they're concerned about oversupply and prices may fall as much as 15% over the next year or so. What did you make of that Fitch forecast for the market, given that you work with them closely on the rating?
Well, Richard, I am an engineer by background, so I'm more inclined to look at the data and try and analyze what the data is telling us. And what the data is telling us is when we look at the markets, what we're really looking at is supply and demand. And when we look at supply and demand, it's very important to make a distinction between theoretical supply and actual supply. And just to put some data on that, one of the things, for example, that we saw in 2024 was there was a projected 45,000 units that were supposed to be handed over in Dubai's real estate market. But actually, out of that projection, only 27,000 units were handed over. And I'll add to that actually out of the 27,000 units that were actually handed over, 4,000 units or close to 4,000 units were actually Binghatti units. So I think it's very important to make that distinction when we're making projections, how much of these projections is actually going to materialize, and put some numbers onto that. The other thing that we need to track when we track transactions is primary real estate transactions. And what we're seeing right now is more so primary real estate transactions as opposed to secondary real estate transactions, which is a very healthy sign for the market. So the data seems to be pointing in a very positive direction.
A couple of final questions while we have you. And thank you, by the way, for getting up early in London this morning to speak to us. Net profit figures came out for the first half of the year, and we know the real estate market's doing well, but even by those standards, they were standout, tripling of net profit to just shy of 2 billion dirhams in the first 6 months of this year alone. What is driving that profitability in particular? I mean, everything I know, but is it your mid-range properties? Is it the high-end branded residences like Mercedes-Benz and Bugatti?
So that's an interesting question, because I understand that a lot of the times when questions like these come up, we're more inclined to talk about sales and marketing activities, which is really important. But of course, I have to give credit to the Dubai market and to the Dubai market dynamics and the population growth. A lot of our growth is driven by these factors and the macro factors in Dubai. But more specifically, it's interesting the way you phrased your questions, because you asked about the projects. An interesting statistic about Binghatti is that while we get a lot of interest and we get a lot of attention for our branded projects, when you look at our portfolio, actually, more than 3/4 of our portfolio is skewed towards tickets between 500,000 dirhams and 5 million dirhams. So those are what we refer to as mainstream and luxury projects. And about 20% or just under 20% of our portfolio is made up of those branded uber luxury projects. So I think what's driving that growth is, yes, affordability in terms of most of our portfolio being skewed towards those more affordable tickets, but also the business model that we've built. So one of the things that we look at very closely is the delta between our sales backlog versus our revenue. And we're able to recognize that revenue very quickly, not only because we sell very quickly, but also we've built a business model where we're able to construct and deliver very quickly. I mean, in the first half of 2025,
Catherine, I'm going to have to push you. A final thought. We got
Sure.
15 seconds left. Your final thought?
Final thoughts. I'm very positive about the real estate market. What I was going to say actually was, in the last half, 24 projects were delivered. Binghatti was about 20% of that, 5 projects. So everything seems to be pointing in a very positive direction.
Appreciate your time. Thanks very much indeed for getting up early to speak to us. Katrol Nada Binghatti, Chief Executive Officer, Binghatti Holding.